All right, awesome. So tonight's topic, we're going to talk about Facebook fundraisers, and Brian is here with all the Facebook fundraising integration knowledge on how it gets to your participant center and how you can set it up. So yeah, I'm gonna let Brian take it away from here.
Thanks, Maddie. Yeah, so tonight we'll just kind of get into a bit of a refresher on the participant center itself, and as Maddie stated, how there's some really cool functionality between your participant center and Facebook that allows you to connect fundraisers to all your friends and colleagues and family members out there in the social media land. So with that, I'll share my deck here for kind of that refresher course for the Team Raiser info and getting all that set up. So, sorry, this is kind of right in the way. Back at it. So your participant center is found, there's a unique participant center within every market's event page. So if you were to go to, if you participate in Kansas City or San Antonio or Seattle, if you go to the event page, there's an orange login box at the top of each of those pages, which you can enter in your user information, credentials, once you signed up for the race. If you're a returning participant and misplaced your username and password, not to worry, there's a field down here to reclaim those as well. Once you get in, once you sign into the participant center with your credentials, you'll bounce back to the event page with kind of the designation that the system recognizes you as a user. And at this point, you can go ahead and click on your participant center to gain access. From there, you're really shown this screen. Image on the left is simply one page, too long to put in horizontal format. So you would see the image on the left and scroll down and see the subsequent information on the right. This is sort of your overview for what your participant center would look like. In this case, I signed up for the Metro KC event under Team Org, my team. And this kind of gives you a quick glance guide for a lot of the tools the participant center provides. You'll notice here on the left side of the screen under head here 5K Metro KC, there are toggles between the homepage, email, and your profile. We'll kind of jump into those real quick before talking through some of the features in the other sections. So within your personal profile, you can update your user information, some kind of housekeeping information here, should you want to change your username, password, etc. So additionally, there are further kind of privacy levels if you would like to go further. If you see next to profile here, there's another tab for event options. Should you like to, you can make your page private. Only with those with the exact URL can find it. It's not really searchable via the personal and team page searches on the event page. So just in case you are concerned about your supporters who's seeing that information, this is just a functionality we provide to increase privacy. Kind of jumping back to kind of more of the broader tabs, this is back on the home screen. If you can recall from a few slides ago, this is sort of the bottom half of the page. This is kind of the section where we establish a lot of the tone and goals for your personal page. You can, as you see in the boxes, there are areas in which you can edit the content. That's sort of a standard script we have for everyone's default account. However, you can certainly come in here and make the information as personal as you wish. Starting with the fundraising goal. Editing the goal is a really helpful way in order to establish an objective for you and your coworkers and friends to shoot for. Titling your page adds that level of personability. You can also, down towards the bottom, update the media. You can have a picture or video, picture formats, photo formats, or prefer to be JPEGs or PNG files, and videos just need to be linkable. So should you want to add a little flair to your page, that would be the spot to do it. And then finally, if under the
Brian,
URL,
I have a quick question. Is there like a video length limit on there, or a certain type of like file the video needs to be? Because I know the videos, at least in my experience in the past, they can be like a couple different file names.
Yeah, so if you were to go into jump into media, and I guess we can do this. I can circle back to it, but if we have questions at the end, I can show you my live participant center, and we can click through and see the exact file types. But elsewhere, I think one thing that I found to be really helpful in conveying, my fundraising message to friends and family was updating the URL settings. As you can see, the link to my personal page URL would be extremely difficult for someone to type into the search bar or the URL bar. What the URL settings allow you to do is make a simple backspace and then whatever you would designate the page. That way, if you share an email, it will essentially say, secure.headforthecure.org / Brian's personal page, for example. So really easy to update that and send out via emails. People tend to lose those links less and are more easily able to find your content. Similarly to other sections, and Courtney mentioned earlier, there's a way from your participant center, if you are a team captain, to toggle and essentially change the same information from your team page. And I guess that's something we should just maybe take one step back to address is every registered participant in a 5K has a individual personal page. And then if they are associated with the team, they're listed under the team page as well. For that reason, captains also have the ability to manage their team page. This is just a simple toggle between the me and my team section for team captains, where you can replicate the process of making your team page more personal and filled with anecdotes, reasons why you participate in Head for the Cure, and also to set some fundraising guidelines for the team. Finally, we're remembering kind of the three main headers for the Participant Center. There's a really handy email section within the Participant Center. The handy part about this is it really makes the fundraising outreach, I think, a lot easier, and it's kind of confined within the Participant Center. It gives you an opportunity to compose messages. You can see kind of in the upper yellow box, there are pre-programmed templates that make that fundraising ask a little easier with some script provided by Head for the Cure. In addition, you can have default layouts, which have some nice Head for the Cure branding as well. Kind of the main kind of important section on email that we want to focus on are your contacts. Various people have questions kind of about what some of the designations mean and how they're applied in your fundraising effort. All contacts is simply everyone who you have an email that you've provided an email address for in the system. It will let you know who needs to be emailed, who needs follow-up. And then kind of in the donor section, these are people who have made contributions to your personal or team efforts this year. Whereas past donors would be individuals who supported you in previous events. Same goes for teammates. The simple teammates designation is for active teammates or active individuals on your team, whereas you can also view past teammates who may or may not have joined up yet this year. I use this as a really great means to communicate with my team members as a captain. And it just does a really nice job of automatically sorting people into different categories based off if they've registered or donated to this point. So I find it to be a useful tool in addition to some others. And finally, in kind of the overview of the Participant Center, Facebook fundraising is a really great integration we have through our technology provider. What this does is provide a one-click process for you to share your fundraising efforts across Facebook. As a little bit of background info, we've had the ability to receive donations for Facebook for a number of years. About, we'll say, like a year and a half ago, our provider came out with this functionality that synchronizes your personal fundraising efforts with your on Facebook with your Participant Center. Whereas in the past, if you were to have donated to Head for the Cure's general donate button, there's a bit of a clearinghouse process that those funds needed to take, and it's delayed a couple of weeks before it's represented in our fundraising totals. This, however, again, I mentioned it was a synchronous process where as those funds are donated through Facebook, they are automatically counted towards your fundraising progress. And what I found, in addition to kind of the email portion of the Participant Center being very handy, is that Facebook simply allows you to connect with a far greater range of individuals who you may not have personal contact information for. I've had friends from high school donate to or acquaintances from high school really donate to my Facebook fundraiser because they saw it, whereas it would have been much more difficult and they would be much further down the list of people to ask for support. So just a much bigger audience. The synchronization is pretty automatic. So you're just much more aware of how those funds are being raised through your efforts if you were to connect a fundraiser to Facebook via the Participant Center. One caveat that I would mention on the Facebook fundraising is we've been going through a bit of an update with the app that connects Facebook to our fundraising platform. Those final steps are kind of being worked out over the next few days. So should you go to try to start a fundraiser immediately, there's going to be a bit of an error message letting you know that that's still the final development's being worked out. But needless to say, over the course of a year, it's a really great tool to fundraise through. A couple just points for kind of best practice for Facebook. Before you start the fundraiser, the information that Facebook pulls in order to start that fundraiser is the script from your personal page. Should you want the fundraiser to display a different script, I encourage you to update your personal page first before starting the fundraiser. A couple other points, should the fundraiser be going very well, you can update the goal for that fundraiser. That's handled on the Facebook side, not via the Participant Center. And one thing we do get questions about from time to time is there's an end date associated with your fundraiser, and can that fundraiser be reactivated after the expiration date? Unfortunately, the answer is no. You can edit the end date of the fundraiser. So if you're still having people reach out to you with some donations or inquiries, I find it best just to extend that deadline out a bit, just so your goal is increasing, while it's a really easy way to keep track of your donors as well, instead of sifting between multiple fundraisers. So again, that's kind of an overview for how the participant center functions from the different modules, and also, you know, some brief guidance for how to best use the Facebook integration. With that, I kind of just want to turn it over to any questions people might have, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, I do. Let me change my view real quick. So does the funds go into your participant center as they're donated, or once that Facebook fundraiser ends?
That's a great question, Maddie. So the fundraisers started via the participant center. Those are synchronized as the funds come in. So there's not a multiple week process before you see that reflected in your progress meter. If you were to, again, just donate to Head for the Cure via Facebook on like our main page, that process would take a couple weeks, and it would need some manual effort to get credited to your efforts.
Awesome. And then when people donate via the Facebook, do they get a list of who donated from Facebook or from us, like the participants?
Yeah, that'd be great. So the Facebook actually provides information as the funds come in, whereas you can see the donations via your participant center. It's more aptly tracked in Facebook.
When they do like a Facebook birthday fundraiser that is not through the participant center but through Facebook, on their Facebook page, it will say so-and-so set up a birthday fundraiser, and then it will show them each donation that is made under their birthday fundraiser. The person and how much they donated is shown on their Facebook page. But when you use that type of a fundraiser, and Brian has said 2 weeks, it can take up to a month for us to receive the funds, because we will get the first week of the month, we'll get the funds that were donated to all those fundraisers through Facebook that were done the previous month, the first 2 weeks of the previous month. So if I donated on the 1st, it may be 30 days before Head for the Cure receives that money, and then we can post it to into the system under their name. If you donate on the 15th of the month, then it may be 2 weeks before before we receive the funds. So the first week of the month, we'll get a lump sum, just a total sum of money will come in from Facebook. Then I'll pull the Facebook report for that 2 weeks, divide that all up so we know where the money's supposed to go, and then I'll go in and put it under the individual's name or team or however it's supposed to be designated. But there is that delay, and right now we still don't have the funds from the last 2 weeks, I believe it is, of January. So for some reason we're going to get 4 weeks paid at a time this time, just because they're behind, if that makes sense. But that's like if you set up, you know, a birthday fundraiser, or you go in and set up through Facebook a fundraiser for Head for the Cure. Anything that's not done through the participant center takes more time for us to be able to post that money to your team or to you as an individual participant. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And I think that's a good point to emphasize, Cheryl. You know, we understand as the event approaches, there's a lot of engagement and support being done. So if you want to see those funds most expeditiously put into your participant account, it's best to do it via the participant center and not a general Facebook
I think a lot of times the fundraiser is just something that people do annually, and their friends and family know that they're going to do it, and it's done kind of outside of the race dates. Depending on when they come in, it'll still get applied to them or to their team. But if that race is cut off, then it'll go to their fundraising for the next year. So there's at least a 90-day stretch, I think, from the time the race ends until we close it off, and sometimes it's months longer than that. So it can still get be credited to them. Just depends on when we receive the funds.
I have a couple of questions. Cheryl knows I've been in the depths of thank you notes, and yes, I am behind on them, but so she was so gracious to print off a report for our team. I guess my question is, so when she printed the report, I think the conclusion we came to was it showed all donors and then Facebook donations, but didn't actually show participants listed on that report. I went back through, I'm just curious about like syncing, how stuff kind of syncs up, because then I went through my emails and I was able to basically like align all of the donations and all of the people who signed up as a participant and kind of have that list. And then Cheryl's list included the Facebook donations. But when I was going through my emails, I don't think, as a team captain, you don't get emails, correct, for Facebook donations? Does that sound right?
That's a good question, Christina. Since the donations are actually occurring via Facebook, they're the ones logging the donation. While the funds are synchronized, I think we've heard some others questions about, like is the name associated with the Facebook donation for thank you. So that process is a little more complicated, and I think with the update we're working on, that's going to be a bit easier to navigate. What you can do is via the email section within the participant center, it does show you active team members. So that might be a place to start in terms of making sure that things are matching up as best they can.
Okay. Yeah. And I think we got it, like between the list she gave me and then, what I figured out for participants via email, I think we're covered off. I'm not gonna worry about if we aren't, but so then because Facebook kind of manages that aspect of it, then you can't get those people's mailing addresses. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Facebook won't release any of that information to us. We can't get an email. Occasionally there might show an email, but we cannot access any personal information. Yeah. And when I get a Facebook report, say you had a really good fundraiser, you had like 20 participants, I just put in a lump sum that birthday fundraiser raised $1,000. I don't go in and put each individual person's name in, because each report could have 200 or 300 people's names, and we don't do that. Partly because you can go on your own Facebook and you should still be able to look at your fundraiser and see each name and how much they donated, but there is no way to pull an address, unfortunately.
So is the list of names for Facebook fundraisers, like when you're talking about how the birthday comes in as you're putting it in as a lump sum, is that different though than, like, I must have done the fundraiser for the walk through the participant center, because what you gave me actually did have names listed off, and then it just said it was a face.
Right. They'll show you each individual donation as it comes in.
Because I went through
your participant center. Yeah.
Okay. That's all.
They're just added one at a time as they come in. So
yeah. Okay. And for what I'm sending, I had a few Facebook people were probably not doing written thank you notes to, and then the couple people that I did want to send one on to, I just sent them a message. They're people I know well enough, but I wouldn't have their address. So I just got their address.
Yeah, you could always go onto your Facebook page where their donation is, click on their name and put a note on their Facebook page.
Yeah, I just sent them a message. Yeah, so that's perfect. Okay, I think that's all the questions I had.
Okay.
That was great. Yeah, because I haven't used a Facebook fundraiser for like that aspect at all yet. So it's really nice to hear like how it comes across and everything. And then Brian, I had a question. You said that on the site, on our site, you can make your profile private or not private. Can you kind of explain that?
Can I say one more thing before we get to a new topic? When I did get the money from Facebook and I put in Christina's birthday Facebook fundraiser, $1,000, I can always provide the list of names off of the report. I don't do that because as they donated, you should have seen it on your Facebook page. But if there's ever a question as to who was in that lump amount of money, I can provide names. That's as far as I can go, but I can provide names and the amount that they donated if you didn't catch it on your Facebook page as they were donating, if that makes sense. So that's all.
Maddie, what were you starting to ask about the privacy measures you can take on the participant center?
Yeah, you said that you can like hide like them searching for you on the team page or like the event page. Is that correct? Or does it like hide who your donors are?
It merely kind of masks the page itself in terms of like searchability via the event pages. You can search for individuals or teams on the events main page. It's an easy way that people kind of hear you're participating and can search you if they don't have a exact link to your personal or team page. It's sort of, I don't imagine a ton of people are concerned with the visibility of their page, but I'm kind of a privacy guy myself, so I'm just kind of aware of it. But what it really does is makes your page not come up in the search results for the event writ large. That way, if people still have your URL to your personal page, it can be entered into the bar and be found as it's live on the internet. But it's really just in case, you want to make things a little bit more private. But in real functionality's sake, we want as many people to find your fundraising page as possible. So in most cases, you want to kind of publicize it first, privatize it. But just kind of a function that I like to explain to people who maybe have that level of concern.
Yeah, and then is it another option if like you don't want to share your do a Facebook fundraiser, you can also share your participant center page, and they can also donate directly towards that, which would that then give you their like mailing addresses and everything. So that's also another option for those that want to make sure they collect all that information, and that will always be reflected instantly as well.
Yeah, so if you were to go to my personal page for Metro KC's event, you can certainly make a donation that is logged and credited to your fundraising meter. And then those addresses are stored for future thank yous. So really, all it does is kind of put one veil over finding your page. But like I said, in most cases, you would kind of do the in-person and promote it instead.
So Maddie, you're just saying if you just took your link that you're like that I shared via text to people and that's going out via email, you just posted that on Facebook as opposed to actually linking a fundraiser through the participant center for Facebook?
Yeah, that's another option as well. I know a lot of times people just like the Facebook fundraisers because it's a little bit, I want to say a little bit like more, not like intuitive, but like they're just more comfortable with it occasionally because other people have done ones for like Alzheimer walks and stuff like that. So everyone's more comfortable with donating with that and how it works. But that's also just another option. And like you said, emailing it to people, doing your participant center is like a great way to get it out there, especially if you change the URL to a more personal one, even if it's just like HFTC, like Maddie would be mine, or if you have a team, then you can change it to your team name to do that. So yeah, it's just another option out there for those that maybe don't understand the Facebook fundraiser aspect or aren't comfortable with sharing Facebook fundraisers.
The nice thing about Facebook is also that it just shows that kind of progress. I think that encourages people. So, I mean, I know you can see progress on the other page too, but that definitely encourages people.
In one aspect, I would also kind of like to highlight for the Facebook integration via the participant centers, in addition to the synchronization, there's sort of that reach and impression build that you get from people donating on Facebook as opposed to your personal page. You know, people get notified when their friends contribute to certain funds, and there's sort of a snowball effect, whereas if you were to just send a link to your personal page, there's not sort of that broader social impact. It would be kind of isolated within your, you would be the only one who really knew other than the honor roll on your personal page. So
I have to say I had a funny snowball effect with my fundraiser this last year, because so you know how it posts that like, oh, so-and-so donated to your fundraiser. Well, I donated to our friend's fundraiser for lupus. So it ended up on my page, and some good friends of ours locally, unless she has some other connection to lupus that I don't know, donated to my friend's lupus fundraiser, and I'm confident she meant to donate to Head for the Cure. And so then I texted our friends who were doing the lupus fundraiser, and I was like, just take that donation and use it towards lupus. I'm fairly confident she meant Head for the Cure, but it's not worth backtracking. I think she saw that I donated and clicked on the link accidentally, but so that's kind of funny.
no, for sure. You can, like I said, it's just that that larger visibility we found to be really positive in people who have done the fundraisers before. And yeah, hopefully ours are branded clearly enough where we can avoid any mistaken donations.
Good news is it's all going to a good cause, so it's
Right.
not a big deal, but it was funny.
I like that. That's fun. Does anyone else have any questions? Any thoughts? No.
I do have
Awesome.
just
My dog
one
is getting
more.
restless.
I do
Yeah.
have one more, because so one thing I didn't do well this last year, but it was kind of like a goal of mine, would be like, we have family or close friends that I feel like if I encourage them more to kind of do their own thing and try to say like, you rate like goal for each of you to raise $1,000 or whatever, the best way to do that is them sign up as a participant. And I know is all different because it was virtual this year, and like that's usually easier if you're walking in person. It's like, I'm walking, please support me. But the best way for them to do that, right, would be them sign up as a participant and then share that out to people. Is that correct? Like they're raising funds for our team, but through them. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I would generally always encourage more people to register for our events, but you do bring up a good point in which if they were to register and start a fundraiser for the event and they're team members of yours, their personal progress meter would increase with every donation. And then those funds raised by individual team members would been aggregated towards your team total. So there's not any gap in terms of those funds getting credited to your broader team.
Okay, perfect.
So you're saying it's the best for people to sign up as a participant and then through their participant center do fundraising, like with a link?
I agree, just because one, you're adding team members, and then they're going to be inevitably friends with a different cohorts than you are. So there's you kind of think of that Venn diagram. It's you know, the people who are not your mutual friends are just potential added supporters for Hyper the Cure. So yeah, if you were to register, your team in personal progress would be tracked, but then you're also connecting to a larger audience that we may or may not have previous records for.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I feel like I know a lot more about Facebook fundraising, which is really good because I had a lot of questions from participants last year. So it's nice to get some of those answered tonight and be ready for them when they come up again this year. So thank you all so much for joining us. I feel like Cheryl and I are mirror opposites because she has a black cat behind her and I have a black dog. So thank you all again for spending your Wednesday evening, I keep thinking it's Thursday, with us. And you can find this up on YouTube tomorrow morning. And then I am also planning on kind of doing a condensed version as well, just to kind of get people on how to do the Facebook fundraiser through participant center. So be sure to be on the lookout for that too. And it'll probably be in Team Captain emails and on social. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Maddie.
Yep.